I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when it happened, sharp, shattering, the kind of crack that makes your heart skip a beat and your hand freeze halfway to your mouth. My living room window just exploded, glass raining down everywhere, and right behind it, a brick bounced across my hardwood floor like it was auditioning for some low-budget action movie. For a split second, everything just went still, then the yelling started outside, and I thought, well, welcome to another day in HOA paradise. Now, don't get me wrong, Maple Court looks like one of those neighborhoods you see in real estate brochures. Fresh mowed lawns, neat mailboxes lined up in formation, everybody waving like extras in a Hallmark movie. But under the surface, we're just like any other HOA, everyone pretending to like each other until the next board meeting when suddenly your trash can is too visible or your petunias are an affront to civilization. But a brick through my window that was new even for Maple Court. So I put down my mug, grabbed my phone, tried to remember if my insurance was paid up, and stepped outside barefoot, by the way, which looking back was not my smartest move with all that glass. And that's when I saw him, Greg. Shirt half-tucked, face red as a tomato, left out in July, sweating bullets, fiddling with his keys by the curb like he was in a hurry to disappear. And beside him, Linda, oh Linda, perfect hair, sunglasses that could block out the sun, and that particular brand of confidence only found in women who've chaired more than 3 HOA committees. You know the type. "Greg!" she shrieked. "Get in the car now!" He glanced back at my house, eyes wide, like he'd just realized he was on the wrong end of a true crime podcast. Which, considering my window, he basically was. I couldn't help it. I called out, "Greg, if this is your new way of saying good morning, next time just knock." My voice was shaking, but I let the sarcasm drip anyway. Linda spun around, smile so tight you could bounce a quarter off it. "Oh, it's not what it looks like," she said, voice all breathy and fake. "Just a misunderstanding." I looked down at the brick still cooling off in my living room. "Your husband misunderstood which house was his?" I asked. Greg mumbled something about losing his keys, but nobody bought it. Not me, not Karen from the next court, who by now was out on her porch phone up narrating the whole mess, like she was David Attenborough and we were rare suburban wildlife. Then Greg finally dove into their silver SUV engine roaring like a wounded animal. Linda was yelling, "Go, go, go," like this was the Fast and the Furious HOA edition. He threw the car in reverse, clipped my mailbox, my brand new mailbox, by the way, overcorrected and peeled off down the street, leaving tire marks and drama in his wake. But before they could even hit the main road, sirens flashed, blue lights spinning, and a cruiser blocked the end of the cul-de-sac. Suddenly, my sleepy street looked like a live set for cops. Linda froze, face draining from spray-tan bronze to ghostly pale. She turned to me, mouth open, but not a sound coming out, just the distant crackle of the dispatcher's voice from the cruiser's radio. By now, half the neighborhood had come out drawn like moths to gossip and blue lights. There's something about flashing sirens that gets an HOA crowd moving faster than free wine at the annual potluck. Officer Daniels, who's been patrolling Maple Court since the infamous raccoon incident of 22, leaned against his squad car, arms folded, giving Linda that "I'm not buying a word of it" look. Greg sat in the back, wrists cuffed, the very picture of a man who just realized his midlife crisis was about to make the news. I stood on my porch, arms wrapped around myself, watching the wind blow through the broken window behind me. My home felt violated, I guess. Glass everywhere, curtains fluttering through the hole like the house itself was gasping for air. Ma'am Daniels called out, heading my way, voice steady but tired. "You the homeowner?" Last I checked, I shot back, "unless the HOA finally voted me out." He managed half a smirk before gesturing at the brick now bagged as evidence. "We're going to need you to file a statement. He claims it was an accident." "An accident," I echoed. "What did he trip and throw it?" Linda piped up, gliding over in her fancy sandals, voice sharp enough to slice bread. "It was an accident. Greg was trying to help me. I thought I saw an animal in her window." An animal, I blinked, half expecting her to say Sasquatch. A raccoon, she declared, deadly serious like this was a public service announcement. We've had problems before. I thought it got inside. Greg was trying to scare it out before it hurt anyone. There was a silence so heavy even the birds shut up. Daniels looked at us then, over at Karen, still recording like this was pay-per-view. "Ma'am, the only raccoon we've seen around here is the one in that story," he deadpanned. Linda's face twitched, and she switched to that icy politeness people use right before they threaten you in cursive. "You know, if your windows were HOA approved, this never would have happened." I couldn't help but laugh. "So now my window made your husband throw a brick through it." "Let's not be dramatic," she hissed. "We'll get this sorted privately." I smiled. "Linda, you brought bricks to my window and cops to my lawn." I think private left the chat. Right then, Daniel's radio crackled something about property damage and possible theft. He straightened up. "Ma'am," he said this time to Linda, "we've got a report that matches your vehicle description." Her mouth dropped open. "This is ridiculous. We are respected members of the HOA." Greg groaned from the cruiser. "Just tell them, Linda. Tell them." But before she could, Daniels turned to me, eyes serious. "Do you mind coming down to the station for a moment? We might need you to identify something." And just like that, my morning went from bizarre to surreal. Police stations always smell the same stale coffee disinfectant and a little bit of worry. I'd only been inside once for jury duty. But this time, Daniels led me through a side door, his radio muttering about evidence. Greg and Linda were already there. Greg in handcuffs slumped over Linda, perched next to him, trembling but still trying to look like she was in charge. I sat down, hands cold, and only then noticed I'd been clutching my phone so tight my knuckles were white. "All right," Daniel said, dropping a folder on the table. "We ran the plate on the SUV, came back clean until we opened the trunk." Greg shot a glance at Linda, but she didn't move. "We found several bags, tools, crowbars, gloves, bolt cutters, you name it, plus this." He slid a photo toward me. A silver necklace chain snapped, locket cracked open. I recognized it right away. It belonged to Mrs. Patterson, 2 streets over, who'd reported a break-in just 3 days ago. "You're saying I started?" Daniels cut me off, calm but firm. "We're not saying anything yet. But these items match several burglary reports." Linda huffed. "That's absurd! Those are from his garage." "He fixes things." Greg finally spoke, voice rough. "Linda, stop. No, you're not pinning this on me. I told you we shouldn't have." She stopped short, eyes darting my way. Daniels didn't miss it. "Shouldn't have what?" She pressed her lips together. "Nothing." And then Greg just slumped, voice quiet and broken. "She told me to do it. Said we just needed one more to be square. I didn't know the house was occupied." My stomach flipped. Linda went pale as copy paper. "Greg, shut up," she snapped. "So yeah, the brick wasn't about a raccoon." Daniels nodded grimly. "Looks like they were targeting houses during HOA meetings, figured everyone would be out. You just happened to be home." My mind spun. The same woman who fined me for my mulch color was running a burglary ring out of our neighborhood. Linda started mumbling about lawyers and reputations, but it all faded into background noise. Daniel's radio buzzed again, units en route to search another residence. Possible accomplice. Sister-in-law's address matches the reports. For the first time, Linda had nothing to say. Greg leaned back and whispered, "Told you it'd catch up with us." The only sound left was the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. 3 days later, the glass was cleaned up, my window replaced, and the neighborhood group chat. Oh boy, it exploded. The HOA board put out a statement, all condolences and legalese, but you could hear the panic about property values between the lines. This was an isolated incident involving 2 residents whose actions do not reflect the values of Maple Court Estates. Translation, please don't sue us. Linda ran her little burglary ring between potluck meetings, but hey, let's not let it ruin the curb appeal. I sat in my living room sipping coffee in the same spot where the brick landed, watching the morning sun stretch across new flawless glass. It almost felt like the house was breathing easy again. Officer Daniels dropped by the night before, handed me a copy of my statement. He told me Greg had confessed and Linda was facing a stack of charges: conspiracy, possession of stolen property, obstruction. Her sister-in-law, she'd been fencing the loot online under a fake community swap account. When I told Karen, she almost dropped her phone. I knew her garage sales were too organized, she whispered, like the FBI might be listening. Maple Court was finally quiet. No passive-aggressive flyers. No surprise inspection notices taped to my trash bin at midnight. Just peace. The kind you get after a storm rolls through and everything feels scrubbed clean. But let's be honest around here. Peace never lasts. I was hauling out the recycling that afternoon when a familiar car crawled down the street. The new HOA president, clipboard at the ready, smile so sharp you could cut yourself on it. "Lovely repairs," she called. "We're glad everything's back to normal." "Yeah," I said, closing the bin. "As normal as it ever gets." She lingered, lowering her sunglasses. "Oh, and one more thing. The board will need to review your replacement window just to make sure it meets regulation transparency standards." I stared. Transparency standards? For glass. Her smile didn't budge. "You understand." Then she drove off. I stood there, hands on my hips, half laughing. Greg and Linda were in custody, the burglary ring shut down, and yet somehow the HOA's still rolling along, fueled by paperwork and self-importance. That night, locking up, I caught my reflection in the new window porch light, flickering, air cool and calm. For a second, I thought about moving. Find a place where community means more than surveillance disguised as neighborliness. But then I grinned. Nope, this is my street now. If I learned anything from Linda, it's that every HOA needs a watchdog with a good memory and a front row seat. I raised my mug to the quiet cul-de-sac, toasting suburban hypocrisy. Here's to transparency, and to the getaway car that didn't even make it past the cop cruiser. So yeah, my window's fixed, the Karens are gone for now, and the HOA's still breathing down my neck. Got a crazy neighbor story? Drop it in the comments, hit that like and subscribe if you want more tales of suburban chaos. Because around here, justice might be slow, but it sure makes for one heck of a story. You ever seen a brick fly through a window before breakfast? Yeah, that happened.